Hello, welcome to Budget Beauty, where I help you look flawless for less. Hello, welcome back to Budget Beauty, and a special welcome if you're new here. My name is Jen, and we do everything beauty on a budget, and that includes dupes. So we are back to a little dupes series that I want to put out over the next few weeks, where we are talking about drugstore makeup products that are better than high-end, a fraction of the price, and perform equally, if not better, than those that cost 2, 3, or 4 times as much. So if you are here for dupes videos, give it a big thumbs up. And if you're new or you haven't yet subscribed, I would love to have you. Hit the subscribe button and don't forget to click the bell right next to it so you never miss a single dupes video or video in general. Check out the description box down below for everything that I share with you in today's video, as well as all of the makeup that I'm wearing if you would like to create this look. And don't forget to follow me on TikTok for more beauty on a budget. Let's jump into today's dupes video. So today we're going to be talking about 19 drugstore dupes. We are going to basically create an entire full face of makeup out of drugstore dupes, starting with our primer and working our way up to finishing off an entire face of makeup. I am so excited for these products. Some of these are my holy grail. Some of these I've never tried before. In fact, I didn't even know that these were dupes. So I'm so excited to share these with you. My inspiration from today's video came from the Word to Your Mother blog. I'll go ahead and link that down below, but let's jump into the 19 drugstore dupes. Drugstore dupe number 1 is primer. A good primer is weightless, non-greasy, and will actually smooth out your complexion and fill in your pores. That's what you want to look for in a primer. No matter what type of skin you have, you want to make sure that these components make up your primer. So the high-end primer that does all of these things is the Smashbox Photo Finish Foundation Primer. Now, I have never purchased this, but I received this as a sample size in a Sephora order, and I really like this primer. It was really good. It smoothed out my skin. It filled in my pores. However, there's a drugstore dupe that works equally as well, and I actually own this primer. And this is the NYX Studio Perfect Primer. It looks like Smashbox, it's in similar packaging, and it works just as well. It is weightless, it is non-greasy, it fills in your pores, and it makes the perfect foundation for your makeup for a fraction of the price. I mean, it is such a dupe that even the packaging is similar. Drugstore dupe number 2 is foundation. I wanna share with you guys a few foundation dupes, starting with a very high-end one, the Hourglass Immaculate Liquid Powder Foundation versus the drugstore dupe, the Rimmel London Stay Matte Mousse Foundation. Now, the Hourglass is a triple threat when it comes to foundation. It absorbs oil, it covers imperfections, and it goes on flawlessly. It's really hard to justify shelling out the money for the Hourglass, so just pick up the Rimmel one. It is exactly the same. It does all of the same things. It's also a triple threat, and it is a fraction of the price. I don't notice any difference between the Hourglass and the Rimmel, and in fact, the Rimmel comes in a wider shade range, which is always nice so that it complements every skin tone. Next up is the Fenty Pro Filter Foundation in $290 versus the drugstore dupe from Maybelline. This is the matte and poreless foundation in number 310. The Fenty foundation, it gives a beautiful matte finish that lasts all day and comes in quite an extensive shade range. Fenty tends to sell out pretty quickly and is a super expensive foundation, so save your money and pick up the Maybelline. This also gives you a shine-free matte finish that lasts all day, again, for a fraction of the price of the Fenty. And this one is a drugstore foundation that's more readily available, that you can find a little bit easier, and again, save yourself the money because they perform the exact same way. Now, if you're like me and you like a luminous foundation, the high-end brand, the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation versus the drugstore dupe, the L'Oreal Paris Lumi Foundation. You guys, these are exactly the same, and the Giorgio Armani is substantially more expensive. It's a cult classic. It's pretty pricey, gives you that radiant glow, that glow from within. But the L'Oreal True Match Lumi Foundation does exactly the same thing. Everything down to the consistency of the foundation is a dead on dupe. You get that glow from within, that dewy look. I personally would never purchase the high-end version when you can get the drugstore L'Oreal dupe for a much more affordable price, and it performs the exact same way. Next up is a concealer. The high-end Tarte Shape Tape, which is such a cult classic, such a popular concealer, versus a very affordable drugstore dupe, the Wet n Wild Focus Concealer. Now, I have tried both of these products, and in fact, I did an entire video ranking concealers for over the age of 40 from best to worst, and spoiler alert, Shape Tape fell as one of the worst, and this Wet n Wild one is amazing. It is such a good concealer for all ages. It doesn't settle into fine lines and wrinkles, and we can't even talk about how much less expensive it is than Tarte, and it outperforms the Tarte Shape Tape 100 times over. Next up, we're going to chat about blush, and we have to compare the popular high-end NARS Orgasm blush versus the drugstore dupe from the brand The Balm, the Hot Mama blush. Now, these are dead-on color dupes, dead on. If you like that pinky, shimmery blush, you're going to love The Balm because it's an exact color match to the NARS. The performance is the same. You literally can buy The Balm for a quarter of the price of the NARS and have exactly the same overall finished look. Another blush dupe for you is from the brand Too Faced, and this is the Love Flush blush. Say that 10 times and I Will Always Love You versus a Wet n Wild blush called Apricot in the Middle. Again, our colors are exactly the same. The performance is very similar. The Wet n Wild is a bit more powdery, but the overall look and application is extremely similar, and the Wet n Wild is under $5. Next dupe that we're going to talk about is highlighter. I love a good glow from within glowy dewy highlighter. As we all know, Becca's going out of business and they are known for their highlighter, so we're going to compare the Becca Shimmering Perfecter Skin Highlighter versus the drugstore dupe, again from The Balm, the Mary Lou Manizer in Champagne. Becca is an excellent product, there's no doubt about that, but this balm is not only a dead-on color match, but the texture, the consistency, and the way that it applies is exactly the same, and you can't beat the price of The Balm. The Balm Cosmetics, if you are sleeping on those, pick some of them up. They are fantastic. I have several of their highlighters, and they're 10 out of 10. Once we highlight, we want to talk about bronzer. So let's discuss one of the most popular high-end bronzers. This is the MAC Mineralize Bronzer in the color Give Me Sun. This is a cult classic, super popular bronzer versus the drugstore dupe, the Rimmel Maxi Bronzer in Sun Queen. Rimmel is less than half of the price of MAC. The colors are comparable, they perform the same way, and honestly, the Rimmel actually has more wearability and lasts longer and stays true to color than the MAC, and again, it's half the price. I want to share with you a few more dupes for MAC products because MAC makeup isn't as popular as it used to be, but it's still pretty popular, and there's 3 more dupes that I want to share with you. First eyeshadow dupe, the MAC Nylon Eye Shadow versus the drugstore dupe, the NYX Barely There Eyeshadow. Same color, same exact color, you get the same exact look. The MAC Velvet Pearl Eyeshadow in Woodwinked Doll versus the drugstore dupe Milani Runway Eyes Bronze Doll. Again, complete dupe. And the last MAC dupe that I want to share with you is a liner. And this is the MAC Liquid Lash Liner Point versus the drugstore dupe, the Milani Infinite Liquid Liner. Now, I have the Milani liner. I love it. I used to love matte liquid liners, but honestly, when it comes to liquid liner, the drugstores are just as good, if not better, than the high end, and this MAC is included. Next on our list is brows, and of course we have to talk about the cult classic high-end Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Wiz in the color particularly of brunette versus the drugstore dupe, the Maybelline Micro Brow Soft Pencil in brown. Colors are the same, and in fact, the Maybelline one goes on smoother. It's creamier, there's 0 skips. If you know, you know. With the skips of the eyebrow pencil, the Maybelline is exceptional and is way less expensive. Next up is mascara, and once again, a cult classic, the Too Faced Better Than Sex Mascara versus the drugstore dupe, the L'Oreal Lash Paradise Mascara. Now, I have to say, I don't love the BTS mascara from Too Faced. It's not my favorite. However, this L'Oreal Lash Paradise Mascara, chef's kiss. It is so good. It's lengthening, it's volumizing, and it's less than half the price of the Too Faced. I personally, when it comes to mascara, never buy high-end because I think that the drugstores perform just as well as any high-end mascara. Now, if you know of a high-end that is your holy grail that's better than drugstore, leave it down in the comments. But for me, it's the L'Oreal Lash Paradise every day of the week. Now, the eyeshadow palette category can be quite the extensive one. I do have my notes over here, so if I'm looking down over here, my computer's here with the notes, but I have 3 different eyeshadow dupes that I want to share with you. So the first one is an Urban Decay Naked palette, and this is the original Naked palette. These are about $50 versus the e.l.f. Need It Nude eyeshadow palette. Color story is exactly the same. The e.l.f., they've stepped up their game as well, and their formula is fantastic, and you can get the exact same look from the e.l.f. palette as the $50 Urban Decay palette. Next up is another Urban Decay. This is the Naked 2 eyeshadow palette versus another e.l.f. palette, the Mad for Matte. Again, similar color stories, similar performance, way less expensive. And the last Urban Decay palette is the Naked 3, and this is versus the e.l.f. eyeshadow palette in Nude Rose Gold. So all 3 of these Naked Decay palettes have an exact dupe in the line of e.l.f. For a fraction of the price, the quality is just as good. I find that the wearability and the performance is the same. In fact, I struggle with some Urban Decay shadows where e.l.f. seems to, like I said, stepped up their game, that their shadows are absolutely perfection. Next, we have to talk about lipsticks, and another favorite brand is the KVD or the Kat Von D. This is the liquid lipstick in the color Lolita versus the drugstore dupe, which is the NYX Lip Lingerie in Exotic. Now, I love the NYX lingerie lip colors. This is another makeup product I have a hard time buying high-end is lip colors, because other than the color itself, the formulas are pretty similar. And I find that spending $20 or $30 on a lipstick just doesn't make sense when you can buy a drugstore version of a similar color or even the exact same color for a much more affordable price. And these two are a dead-on match. Now, if you are a bullet lipstick lover versus a liquid lipstick lover, let's compare the creme de la creme of bullet lipsticks, and these are the MAC. This is the matte lipstick in the color Taupe versus the drugstore dupe, the Wet n Wild Mega Last Matte Lip Color 913C Sandstorm. These are exactly the same. And the MAC formula is creamy and delicious, but honestly, the Wet n Wild lipsticks are coming for MAC. Like, they are just as creamy and delicious and way, way less expensive, less than a quarter of a MAC lipstick. So those are the 19 drugstore dupes. We just did an entire full face of makeup, high-end versus the drugstore dupe. So definitely let me know down in the comments if you've tried any of these products and what your thoughts are. And let me know of any other dupes that you're aware of. Share with the community. We would love to see where we can save some money and pick up some drugstore products. Like I always say, spend your money on skincare, save your money on makeup, because there are so many amazing dupes out there. So if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you're new or you haven't yet subscribed, I'd love to have you. Hit the subscribe button and click the bell right next to it so you never miss a single video. I will link all of the products that I shared with you today down in the description box, as well as the makeup that I'm wearing if you want to recreate this look. And don't forget to follow me on TikTok for more beauty on a budget. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.